politics here, this time from our studios in Abuja. Welcome to Political Paradigm. I am Terry Ikumi. My guest today is a member of the House of Representatives. He represents Jibia Keita Federal Constituency in the House. He's a veteran lawmaker, as I like to call him. He is quite vast on national issues as well. And he's from the All Progressives Congress, Honorable Sada Soli. Honorable, welcome to Political Paradigm.
Thank you, Terry, for having me.
I don't know if both of us should be smiling, because on my way to work, I discovered that there were queues. And turns out that there's a new pump price, 670 naira. That adjustment has also been made by the NNPCL, so it's a confirmation. It was initially rumored, but it is a confirmation that fuel pump price has been adjusted to 617 naira per liter. I'd like to just get your thoughts on that, just before we talk about the palliatives of the president as approved by the House of Representatives, the National Assembly.
Well, it's quite sad, but it's not unexpected because the industry is deregulated. The NNPC is the sole importer of PMS at the moment, and then NNPC is a limited liability company. Subsidy has been removed completely. Nigerians welcome it, even it comes with its own side effects, but Nigerians welcome it. And NNPC will only sell if it wants to remain in business, because it's purely business. And based on the prevailing crude oil price in the world, I think there was this discussion at one time, once the oil price is quite high, definitely Nigerians will pay more of the PMS. And I think that's what we're going through. But I do not think that it's going to remain like that by the time this the world crude oil price going down. I'm sure the NNPC will adjust their pump price.
So while we agree that it's a deregulated market and prices will adjust accordingly, there are concerns as to how prepared we appear to be to handle these adjustments, especially with the resultant effects on our pockets. And you can tell as well that the mood of the nation is quite dicey, because a lot of people expected that while it's applauded that fuel subsidy should go, some question whether the administration, as young as it is, appears to be or was ready for this process. Talk about that, and then perhaps maybe you will tie that to the 500 billion naira, which the president has said is for palliatives.
Well, I can say that, yes, it's quite difficult for the administration. It's young, it's new, it has come with a lot of vision, with a lot of initiatives to see that they move the country, the administration move the country forward as quick as possible. But then in every governance, it comes with its own challenges. Perhaps maybe these are the initial challenges of this administration, but I think they are surmountable. They're looking at the ways that they can see they can cushion the effect of this pump price and some other associated fiscal challenges that are facing the economy. It's not easy, it's quite difficult, I can agree with you, but I have the trust in Bola Tinubu's administration that will definitely conquer some of these challenges.
You know, as a politician, many would say you trust in the administration is sort of understandable, because you'd have to work with him as a lawmaker to sort of cushion this effect. But seeing this new pump price and perhaps how it's been received by Nigerians, are you now satisfied with, or still satisfied with the 500 billion naira provision for palliatives as requested and approved?
I think for the meantime, I can say that I'm satisfied. But if there are other ways and avenues, the government can come up with some other initiatives to cushion the effects, I'm sure they will do that. But I can tell you, Terry, it's quite difficult. Those that are in the public sector governance, those that are in the administration, those that are open to some of the issues that this administration has come to deal with, will definitely have sympathy for them. But I'm sure these issues are surmountable. They're doing all their best to see that they bring the best people that can drive the administration, so that at least some succor can be deployed to the Nigerian public. But I can tell you, Terry, we are not oblivious of some of these issues. They are very difficult decisions, but then it's always wrong not to take decisions rather than taking wrong decisions. It's the present administration, it has taken bull by the horn to remove the subsidy, and also initiate some other fiscal policy measures that can shore up our revenue, so that at least the excess funds could be applied to some few other things. But I think some things are being done to see that these challenges, these effects are being cushioned.
Honorable Soli, while you say that you are still satisfied with the 500 billion naira provision for palliatives by the administration of President Bola Tinubu, what aspects of this 500 billion naira gives you the satisfaction, bearing in mind the poverty rates in the country?
It's better than doing nothing.
It's better than doing nothing.
Yes.
But what is the impact? The question is, what aspect of this?
Let me be honest with you, Terry. People always argue with the fact that you are given 8,000 to 12 million.
No, we're not talking about the loan requirement.
Yes.
We're talking
about the loan requirement.
We're talking about the 500 billion naira specifically mentioned as palliatives to cushion the effect of fuel subsidy.
Yes.
And the reason I ask this question is that this was debated on the floor of the House.
Right.
And your colleagues insisted that this particular request must be fully scrutinized. But then there were concerns from some of your colleagues as well as to why the details of the spendings of this 500 billion naira were not made available to lawmakers. So I want to know if you are aware of how this 500 billion naira, let's leave the $800 million first and talk about the 500 billion naira, which National Assembly approved. How will it be spent?
You see, the 500 billion is for the palliative, is charged under Federal Ministry of Finance and National Planning. They are yet to come up with the details. They will share the details with us. You know the way budget is. Budget, you just give you a line item and put the figure, and then the other details will come after they, because they must sit down and...
But that's not entirely true, because I followed Parliament, and I know that when the President presents his budget, Parliament waits until the details of the budget are available. Then they debate the budget and the details, scrutinize it properly, make adjustments before approving. But this wasn't done.
No, let me help you. This budget was an amendment to a supplementary budget presented by Buhari's government.
Yeah, that supplementary budget was for something else.
Hold on, let me just help you. That supplementary budget cut across 6 geopolitical zones and about 3 or 4 agencies. I have the budget here.
Specifically for floods-related issues?
Not specifically for
the 819 billion
not specifically.
Was for infrastructure damage.
For infrastructure, it cut across, there is FEMA, there is some Oji River, there is water resources, there's Federal Ministry of Agriculture, there's even the National Assembly renovation, which was given 30 billion. Which was cut now in this amendment, it was cut to 10 billion, from 30 billion to 10 billion. The details are here.
What amendment was cut to 10 billion? We will come to the issue of the National Assembly.
Let me help you. The issue is most Nigerians didn't understand what this supplementary is all about. This supplementary is not any different supplementary, but it's an amendment to an existing supplementary budget that is going concurrently with 2023 budget. This supplementary budget was presented by Buhari's government when there was flood, which affected the entire country and some other sectors of the economy. And then in the wisdom of this government, when they came, they looked at this, then they brought all the 819 billion as a supplementary budget. They looked at it, they prioritized, and they look at like there are some roads that are being covered under Scook, and they are caught in the supplementary budget. And then they found that there was no need for that money, and they moved that money to another priority areas. If we look at the NGC, which was captured under service-wide vote, that 335 billion was purely new. It was not there because there were anticipatory things that were not looked at, were not even anticipated. But then coming to this administration, they found that they have to provide some money for the NGC under service-wide vote. Now, this is what the supplementary is all about. It's an amendment to an existing supplementary, but it's not money that...
No, you know, that fact is known.
Yes.
I promise you, that fact is known. What is not known is how that 500 billion naira will be spent. And in terms of monitoring, your colleagues were questioning how they would monitor it. Now, you understand that there's a clear difference between monitoring money budgeted and broken down. So you understand that monitoring to the tune of 500 billion is totally different from monitoring the details of how that money is spent and the effectiveness of that money.
I can guarantee you, Terry, I'm sure, I'm positive, the Federal Ministry of Finance and National Planning, they will present this breakdown to the oversight committees when they are constituted, and then we will see. And then Nigerians, look, I don't think this government will make the mistake of not breaking down this 500 billion. I don't think so. I don't think they will make that mistake. You cannot just take 500 billion as an amendment to a supplementary budget, put it under one ministry, and let's just wake overnight and that money is spent.
But what areas do you think that money should go?
You see, they said palliative. Palliative could be applied in so many areas. They could channel it, maybe buying buses, maybe buying grains, or giving handouts to very low income earners. I mean, it depends for them what details are they providing the country with, or what details are they coming up, how this 500 billion will be applied. We are yet to see that, and I'm sure they are working on that. You see, they have to, this government must create something to cushion this effect. And there are many areas that this pressure on Nigerians can be cushioned with the use of this 500 billion. But we are yet to see how these things, but I guess transportation will be one area, because it's another area that is biting hard on Nigerians, and probably maybe they will purchase grains and distribute because of the high inflation of food and some other things. But we're yet to see the details. But I believe the details will be provided.
And for the $800 million request, do you believe that you're satisfied with the intent of that request, despite the concerns in the public as to why we have to go through the process of sharing funds? In fact, the labor unions question what 48,000 naira, 8,000 per month for 6 months, would do for a household.
Because the labor union, they are not being realistic. They know 8,000 naira. I know, as a politician, I know what 8,000 naira can do to a household in this country. I know that a household that do not earn 500 naira in a month. I know that. It's a stark reality. Go down to the society, go down to the villages. So 8,000 naira can make a lot of difference. Let me be honest with you. There are households that live on an income of 500 naira. Maybe the wife is frying akara with a little bit of a capital of 2,000 naira. I have seen it during Buhari's government, where they were given this handout of 5,000 naira. In my local government, they selected 15,000 women being given 5,000 naira every month. And I know the impact of that 5,000 naira. I know the impact of that 5,000 naira, because these are the poor of the poorest. They go around, identify them, and channel that money through them. And they do get that money to those people.
What happens after 6 months?
I should ask you that question.
I mean, you understand where, you understand the skepticism.
Well, you see, they said palliative. You know palliative. You know what is a palliative? In the medical term, you know what it is.
Interim measure.
Yes, it's an interim measure to stabilize something that is under serious pressure. We don't know. In the next 6 months, the economy can turn around, the income of people can improve. And then, remember, it's not only the federal government that is in charge of this. The state governments are there. The local governments are there. They are all taking their piece of cake from the federal government. And I'm sure they will devise some other means also to cushion the effects at the local government, at the state government. We are talking about the federal government. Remember, we have 3 tiers of government. The state governments also, I'm sure a number of them are also thinking about areas that can cushion this effect at the state level and at the same time at the local government level.
You know, this takes us to cutting down the cost of governance because as it stands now, the concern is to in what areas should governance be cut in line with current realities, and specifically because the masses see the adjustments from their pockets and question whether the federal government is paying as much attention at that level. So when we talk about cutting the cost of governance, it's been a debate repeatedly in the public space as to what exactly can be done to cut down the cost of governance. In your opinion, what can we do?
I think what we can do is to cut down the expenditure within the public sector, sub-public sector governance. Our public sector governance needs to be attended to. If you know what I mean. If you know what I mean, if you know what goes in the civil service, I think we should wake up and do something about our public sector governance. That is where money is being spent without the general public even knowing what is even going on.
Are you talking of remuneration?
Not remuneration. Not remuneration. Even the process of procurement, the overheads, the personnel costs. Remember the fraud in IPPS, in the salary process system that we're paying. This is all part of public sector governance. What is going on? The directors, deputy directors, assistant directors, chiefs, the permanent secretaries. It's over. Look, you need to go inside the public sector governance and understand what is going on in this country. 99% of the budget of this country is being implemented by the civil service within the public sector governance. 99%, or even 100%. So there is need to address the problems in our public sector governance. What is going on in the public sector governance? If attention is paid on the public sector governance, you will see how our economy will improve. Look at the leakages. The leakages are not within the political sector governance. No, it's within the public sector governance. The revenue agencies, revenue generating agencies, they're all under the public sector governance. What is going on? Nobody is paying attention. Nigerians are not asking questions. The labor union is not asking questions. The civil societies are not asking questions. What is really going on in the public sector governance? I wish this government will pay attention to that, and then you will see what will happen. Heads will roll.
In cutting down the cost of governance, where does the political class come in?
The political class, yes. I think the political class, the expenditure under the political class is determined by the Revenue Mobilization and Fiscal Commission. They're the one that determine what should be given to political office holders. That's the political office holders and judicial service officers. They determine what they should get. It is there. Go to 2007 and 2009 report of the Fiscal Mobilization Revenue Mobilization Commission. The report is there. You will see what exactly they determine, how judicial officers will get, how political office will get from the president down up to the local government councillors.
Do you think that it should be reviewed downward in line with current realities?
It is their job to do that, whether to review it downward or to review it upward.
But you know, while that is happening, recently, following the approval of the passage of the supplementary 500 supplementary
the amendment,
the 70 billion naira provision there has caused a stir in the public space. What exactly is that money for?
I think that money is meant for the operational vehicles for the National Assembly, which is in every session of the National Assembly. Such operational vehicles are provided to committees, not to members of the National Assembly. Every session, you work in National Assembly, every committee is provided with vehicles, operational vehicles, for oversight and other sundry activities of members of the National Assembly. Remember, all the presiding officers, according to Revenue and Fiscal Mobilization Commission report of 2007-2009, most of these retinues were said to be provided. I have the chart. It is there. If you go to on the internet, Revenue and Fiscal Mobilization Commission, political office holders remuneration, you will see it. Do you expect the Senate President to go and buy his car? Official car to ride? Do you expect the Speaker to do that?
So there's the 70 billion naira provision made in the supplementary bill. And then there's the 110 billion naira, which we hear National Assembly wants to use to purchase armored vehicles. Do you have a clarification on either?
I'm not aware of 110 billion. I have the budget, supplementary budget, it is here.
This is not a budgetary provision.
I'm not aware of that. I don't think National Assembly has access to that 110 billion. I don't know where that money is.
But if that is a thing, if that does exist, or it's an offering,
I don't know.
Tentatively, we're talking about cutting down the cost of governance. Do you think that that is something that the National Assembly should jettison?
Terry, let me be honest with you, Terry. Yeah. I was elected by Nigerians. I'm being honest with Nigerians. I don't know where that 110 billion naira was manufactured. The Bola Ahmed Tinubu's amendment to supplementary budget did not capture it. It is here. You can have it.
But do you say that the 70 billion naira is to purchase vehicles for lawmakers?
The 70 billion is for operation of vehicles for National Assembly, office equipment, furniture, fittings, and other capital items for National Assembly. National Assembly has so many components. The National Assembly Service Commission, they are building a new office complex for them. The Senate, the House of Representatives, and the management. The management with about 5,000 staff. That's the component of this 70 billion.
You know, I'm sorry you have to be the one at the receiving end of this because...
No, it's natural because we're there. Look,
the reason I'm saying that is that...
We owe the general public explanation.
Absolutely.
We owe the general public explanation.
I'm hoping you can explain this.
Yes. I'm trying to.
There is the talk anonymously from one of your colleagues regarding the cry by lawmakers, specifically from the House, for an increase in allowances.
I'm not aware of that. And what allowance are you talking about? Is it the allowances, the revenue and fiscal mobilization?
It was actually specifically in line with
I don't know what allowance you are talking about.
It's actually in line with the state of the nation, subsidy removal and the resultant effects. So lawmakers say, some lawmakers...
No, let's talk honestly. Terry, let's talk honestly. You cover the National Assembly. Which allowances? Is it the allowances of revenue which was provided by Revenue and Fiscal Mobilization Commission? Or which allowances?
I was specific. I said that lawmakers had a closed-door session where they appealed that the allowances be reviewed upward in line with current realities.
I'm not aware of that.
But is that something...
If it is a closed session, how did you hear?
Well, I'm sure you know that word gets round.
But you see...
but I ask for clarification, and the reason I ask is, if you didn't hear of something like that, and now you hear it, is that something you think that the National Assembly should be considering at this time, considering how sort of volatile the situation is with the state of the nation?
If it is true, it's something for us to be circumspect. If it is true. But the executive session that you are talking about, we have had only one executive session since after inauguration, and I was there. But then probably the appeal for review of the allowances of the members, maybe it is a respect of the recommendation of the Revenue and Fiscal Mobilization Commission. Probably that may be one of the areas that maybe the member is talking about, looking at how they will improve or review the allowances of the members of the National Assembly as enshrined, as provided by Revenue and Fiscal Mobilization Commission.
But so is that okay to say now this is a good time to review the minimum wage as well?
It is absolute overtime because the dynamics in the fiscal ecosystem of the country has changed. So I think it is only reasonable if the government can have a look at that. Let them see what can they do, because I can hear some state governments they also made some adjustments how they improve the salaries of their employers. But let me be honest with you. Before that, I'm urging on this government to look at the public sector. Let them look at the civil service. let them look at the civil service before they begin to increase the salaries. Let them audit the federal civil service. And I also employ the states and local government, let them audit their civil service, because a lot of shenanigans are going on in the public sector governance.
You know, with regard to the minimum wage we talked about, those 200,000 naira sound realistic to you?
It's not unrealistic. Looking at the exchange rate, looking at the living condition of people, but then, is it realistic with our revenue? Is it realistic with our economy? It takes two to tango, because you have to juxtapose the two to see, okay, 200,000, then what is coming into the government coffers? What is the level of the revenue? Can the revenue shoulder this? Or do we have to go into another cycle of borrowing to pay salaries? So it's a hard choice for the government to make, but I don't think 200,000 is too much. But then, can the economy afford it?
You know, with the state of the nation now, there are concerns, especially considering the fact that the presidential election petition court is still sitting. There are concerns as to if this goes into a rerun, with the state of the country in the past almost 2 months under this new APC administration, are you convinced that your party could still win?
You see, because I'm a politician, we will not go for rerun. We are very confident on our lawyers. We are very confident on our case. Our case is watertight, and I have confidence in our judiciary.
Well, even the president is concerned as to a possible rerun based on his statement, which many have reacted to. Some have taken it out of context. Some say it is dangerous to make such a statement, and even the labor unions and the Labour Party have said that that's not a statement that he should be making. But it sort of suggests that there's a likelihood of a rerun.
Right. There's not going to be any rerun. There's not going to be any rerun. We know how our case is being. We know the quality of our lawyers, and we know the content of our argument, and then our witnesses. And we knew what happened during the elections. You and I know. You and I know Labour Party didn't win. You and I know the PDP didn't win.
Based on
it's not a question that anybody should argue with. But because it is the legitimate right of the parties to approach an arbiter, that's our justice system, for what they don't agree with, you can't deny them that.
Well, you know, while you say that there will not be a rerun, it's your confidence. It's understandable.
Right.
Critics point to the outcome of the election, where your party did not score majority of the total votes.
Yes. What do you mean by majority of the total vote? What is the constitutional provision?
Just a second. Your party scored 8 million. Cumulatively, the rest of the votes put together showed that more Nigerians voted against your party than for your party.
Terry, that's a lazy argument. That's a lazy argument. In an election, you don't. In an election where the Constitution provided how you win elections, you don't come out with a half-baked that kind of argument.
No. Just a second. Honorable Soli, the argument is not constitutional. It's not a constitutional matter.
Yes.
It is a factual matter.
How do you win? How do you win election?
Your party won that election based on the outcome of the election, no doubt. But I'm saying that if even members of your party have raised concerns that if for any reason a rerun is organized, and knowing that your party did not win majority of the votes based on the accumulation of the other votes, that there would be concerns as to if those other parties begin to work together, your party may not take those.
Do you see the possibilities of PDP and LP working together?
That's your confidence.
They have tried to work together before the election. They couldn't work together. Look, we are all politicians. We know ourselves. Do you see the PDP, the remnants of PDP, is ready to work with the disappeared Labour Party? Where is the Labour Party now? Where are they?
In court?
I mean, they're in court. They're only in court. We only see them in court. We only see them in court. You and I only see them in court. Otherwise, what is going on? But look at the APC. APC is all over, bubbling, doing a lot of things around the country.
But what do you make of the president's statements on anarchy?
I don't want to join issues with the president's statement because he's the president.
Beyond that,
I don't know what is before him because he's the most informed person in the country.
But are you worried as to how that is being received now?
I would not want to join issues on that. He's the president, I'm telling you. He's the most informed person in this country. So he may have his own reason why he made that statement.
So you think the president may be right?
I do not want to join issues with that. Let me be honest with you. I don't have the facts that he has. I don't have the security report that he has. I don't have the information that he has. He is not a careless person. The president is a very, very careful person leading over 200 million people. So you should gauge. You should gauge when he makes a statement that he must have made that statement based on the facts that are before him.
Well,
but I do not want
anarchy is indeed a strong word, but let's not dwell on that. As a lawmaker who took part in the constitutional amendment process, Electoral Act amendment as well, are you concerned or are you disturbed that the issue of 25% in the FCT seems to be rather confusing?
I think, yes, it is rather confusing. And I can bet you we will definitely work on that ambiguity. I think it is an ambiguity, but I have participated in the constitutional amendment since 6th Assembly. And perhaps we ignore that ambiguity. We did not see the danger it can create because it has polarized the ecosystem of our judicial sector. You have different lawyers with different views on 25% of the FCT. But if you look at the semantics of it, it said and FCT, 36 and. 3 and 1 makes 4. So 36 and FCT get 25%. That's what it means. I'm a student of English.
So in amending that, because you allude to the fact that it's ambiguous.
Yes, the language does not suggest that you must get FCT. It said and.
You know, there are senior advocates of Nigeria who argue that as well.
Have you ever seen two lawyers with same opinion?
But when you talk about how ambiguous that provision is, what would be the amendments that would make it as straightforward as possible?
I think we will consult. We will consult widely, and then we will look at some of these issues, and then. But definitely, I can attest to you that we will address that problem.
Honorable Soli, let's go to some party politics now. Yesterday, the chairman of the All Progressives Congress, Senator Abdullahi Adamu, walked away. How do you react to that?
I think that was very reasonable of him. That was a statesmanship of him. That was very courageous of him. And then that proves to you the quality of the kind of person he is, takes decision at the right time of taking that decision. I do not want to read meaning in it. I think he has done, he felt it's time to go at his age. As he's an accomplished human being. He started from FCT, Plateau State Secretary of the NPN, has gone through it. He was a minister, governor for 8 years, this senator for about the third time, then National Party chairman. If not he wants to be president, what does he want to be?
You sound like you understand why he took the decision.
I think it's time for him to move on. It's his own decision, and I think that was the right decision. At his age, if I were him, I would take the same decision.
But it doesn't appear as though it was a decision that he had always wanted to take. It seemed like it was a forced decision, because now we hear that there's some indictment on him.
I don't know about the indictment. I don't know whether he has been forced to resign, but I believe it's his own decision to take that decision.
You know, quite a number of your party members called for his resignation long before he did.
Right.
A number of persons blamed him for some cracks in the APC for some actions that he took. And some say that his relationship with the president was also strained, or strained way ahead before the president got into office because of his stance. And then his relationship with the National Working Committee also was quite dangerous. You're a member of the party, you're a member of the National Executive Committee. Is that how you saw him?
Not really that way, but the way I see him as a very calculative politician and a very responsible politician. He didn't want to drag his party into a lot of, this is a party that he took into elections, won elections, deliver the president, regardless of whatever people will say. Look, party management is a very difficult, it's a very complex thing in this country. We know the trajectory, history of party management in this country. Not only the APC, but generally all the parties have faced this kind of hiccups here and there in the process of party management, because it's something that bringing different shades of people around this country and sit down and say, hey, we are focusing to do one thing, we're going to achieve it. It's usually difficult. If certain people will have to dissent from you. Certain people will have to disagree with their own decision. I think this is not different from what had happened from other political party management across the country, or perhaps I can say around the world. But the decision of the National Party chairman, I think at this time, it is the best decision he took. It will help the party to move on. For all those that are the bickerings, the accusations, whatever it is, now it has come to an end. The party needs to pick its pieces and move forward.
Is it normal that every party chairman, specifically because I'm speaking with you as a member of the APC, has had to go on questionable terms?
Is
it normal?
It's not normal. It's not normal. I can tell you that it's normal because I'm an under-deal person, and it is not normal, and I think we need to improve. Our party management, I think it needs to be improved. For those that are taking the baton, I think they need to improve from where there is some shortfalls from the outgoing chairman.
Some blame the influence of governors. There's a tussle of power between the chairman of the party and the governors who sort of fund the party. And to an extent, some say that they rather would have control of the party and insist that the chairman should only be a figurehead. I recall clearly that I had a conversation with Comrade Adams Oshomole, who was one-time chairman of your party.
Yes.
And he said that one of the former governors, Governor Fayemi, had accused him and said that I had told him that as governors, they've chosen who they want. That wasn't the case of Governor Obaseki at the time, even though Governor Fayemi had said that that never did happen. But political analysts insist that governors, because they fund the party and they hold power, always want to be in control of the party, and so national chairmen are just figureheads.
I don't think national chairmen are figurehead. National chairmen of political parties are very, very influential individuals. Based on the provisions of the constitution of these parties, you can see how the influence of national chairmen is tested. You can see what happened in the PDP when the G5 insisted that Professor Ayu has to go. He stood on, and nothing happened because of the provisions of the constitution of the party. So I don't think they are just figureheads, but like I said, our party management generally needs to be improved. People generally must learn to obey the constitution of the party, and then we must improve our discipline. We must improve our discipline across the board. Across the board.
You know, just before he left, he was uncomfortable with the emergence of the leadership of the National Assembly from the APC side, the majority leadership. And it wasn't that much different from when the speakership issue had come, which we're coming to now. But what was the position of the party with regards to the leadership of the National Assembly, which you believe that the national chairman was not comfortable with?
Well, you see, I didn't know what happened. I only had the national chairman said the party was not consulted in the emergence of the other principal officers. But remember, the party was involved in the emergence of the presiding officers. You understand? So I don't know what happened. So for the National Party chairman to voice out that yes, the leadership of the party emerged, they were not consulted. But I think later on explanation was provided to him by the leader of the party. That's the president, and I think that sorted out the.
Are you privy to that explanation?
I am not privy to that explanation, but they will not tell lies. They will not tell lies.
So is the APC in the National Assembly united?
What do you mean by that?
It's a straightforward question.
I don't know.
It's a straightforward question, and I'm sure you understand.
I'm not aware of that acronym.
What acronym?
What did you say?
Is the APC in the National Assembly united?
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. If it's not united, I don't think the way the emergence of the leadership appeared to be, there could have been some fallout. But you can see that we have picked the pieces and we have moved on. Particularly, I can tell you about the House. The House is well formidable, well united, and we are focused. We have left everything behind us and we have moved on as one because we believe the survival of the country takes a front seat than our own interests or our own local interests. And I think, and I applaud the Speaker. He has demonstrated leadership, including the Deputy Speaker. They have demonstrated leadership, and then they have realized they have adopted the principles of no winner, no vanquish. I think that's perhaps maybe why the House is united, because I could remember the Speaker met with all of us after his emergence, after his election, spoke with us, he met with us, and you can see there is no discrimination, no acrimony on the floor in the process of our debate. The Speaker gives everybody the required time, the required recognition to speak on different issues from day one.
You know, you and I had an extensive conversation on why you thought or believed that you would make the best Speaker of the 10th House of Representatives. Not only did you say that you were really confident that you would, why did you drop out of the race?
Because the President asked me to do that. And there is no way my President and my Vice President will sit me down and request me for something. I can refuse to offer that.
So that was enough reason for you to. So were you disappointed?
That was an enough reason.
Were you disappointed in the other two members, the former Deputy Speaker Idris Wase and Honorable Aminu Jaji, who refused and went ahead to?
I'm not disappointed because they displayed and demonstrated their right to aspire and their right to contest, and nobody denied them that right. It was their right, and they demonstrated that right, and people respected that right, and I was happy with the way the House accepted that their demonstration and their ability to go through even when they did not win, and they have not lost anything. In fact, let me be honest with you, members applauded them. Members applauded them.
You know, their concern at the time, even for going ahead to present themselves or accept their nominations at the time, was that while you say that you had a conversation and you were talked to, it's not clear if they had that kind of opportunity to sit with the President and Vice President and appealed to.
You see, like I said, aspiration and contesting for a job among equals is the right of an individual. Even if someone talked to them, cajoled them, appealed to them, it is still within their right to drop the aspiration or to go ahead. And nobody can deny them. And the President did not deny them. The President did not disown them, even for demonstrating that. Remember, Aminu Jaji is among the 3 people the president mentioned during his acceptance speech at the Eagle Square. Remember, Aminu Jaji was the president returning officer of the result. Remember, Aminu Jaji was the director contact and mobilization for Northwest for the presidential election. So you can imagine how close he is to the president. But even with that, he decided to test his popularity. He decided to demonstrate and establish his right to contest an election among equals. Nobody could deny him that. So also Wase and any other ones. But then, like I told you, it is within the decision of an individual to go ahead or to drop his aspiration.
Honorable Soli, you are a member of the National Assembly who's been there, I think, since the 6th or 5th Assembly. How does it feel to be in a house full of fresh lawmakers?
I think it's a welcome development, because you must give space for some others to come in and participate in public service, regardless of the challenges of it, because the turnover of 282 members, it's huge. And then this is where it comes to the cutting cost in governance. You must train these people in order to be productive in National Assembly, in order to have good quality legislation, in order to have useful and extensive oversight functions. These are new members. You must train them. How do you train them? You must put money. This is all part of it. You must provide them with the tools to land the job, to catch up quickly. You must provide all these tools. That's why they have to, the office equipment, the furniture, the fittings. Remember, the furniture, the office equipment of National Assembly had been there since 1999. I don't think the furniture and the equipment in the villa, in the NJC, Supreme Court, and other ministry have been there for the last 20-something years. They do change them periodically in order to provide conducive atmosphere for productive work, and so that achievement could be made in the process of governance.
What do you think that the 10th National Assembly should focus on while we await the legislative agenda of National Assembly? What areas do you think the National Assembly should focus on?
I think we should focus on seeing how we can stabilize the economy, block the leakages, and then improve the functions of public sector governance. I've always said about this public sector governance because I know what I'm talking about. I've conducted oversight functions in different ministries, agencies of government. I know the problems. Some of them don't even have the capacity to spend money. Some of them don't even have the capacity to spend money. Here we are. We are still running 2022 budget because these ministries don't have the capacity to spend this money.
And by capacity, you mean?
You know what I mean by capacity?
I don't know, because you have adjusted the budget's life.
Yes. For them to implement it.
Yes. So what exactly is capacity that is lacking?
To spend.
What is this capacity?
I don't know. You are a journalist, go and find out.
No, I mean, Honorable, before you extend the budget life, you understand that there's a reason for it.
Yes, there is a reason. There is the money. The procurement has not been provided. The implementation is halfway. These are some of these things. Remember, we are now in July. Procurement has not been done for 2023. And then the next 2 months, the budget, 2024, the budget will be on the floor of the National Assembly.
So how do we cure this?
Well, that's another thing. It's the executive. It is, we perform oversight function. We always voice these things. We always write it in our...
When you voice, what are the recommendations?
We do make recommendations. Look, you see, the way the National Assembly function is when you go on investigative outing, or you conducted public hearing, or you conducted visitations to ministries, departments, and agencies, we have reports. We have contact with the office of the Secretary to the government. There is no motion on the floor with its own resolutions that is not communicated to the relevant agencies of government. No motion. Motion, talk less of laws, talk less of approval of subsidiary legislations. They are all communicated to the executive in order for them to help them improve this public sector governance.
You know why I ask this?
Yes.
You've talked about the need to sanitize the civil service.
Yes.
You also talk about the lack of capacity to implement the budget.
Yes.
Is this capacity that can be developed, or does the president have to do some reshuffling?
Both. Both. I can tell you both. I can tell you both. Look, we just have to close our eyes and look at our public sector. That a lot. Look, some of them, go and see their take home. Go and see when their surveillance. It's in hundreds of millions. Hundreds of millions. I will name agencies. Today, if their chief executives leave the job abruptly, you can imagine how much he's going to go away with.
Which agencies?
No, you know, there are quite many. I just don't want.
You said you would name. That's why I don't want to
name them here because it's a very sad situation, Terry.
You know, the Electoral Act Amendment Bill. I understand that it's been read for the first time. The details are not clear yet, but it's clear in the public space that the National Assembly wants to correct the mistake it made, which led to the high turnover to an extent where it excluded members, political office holders from the primaries.
I don't think so. I don't think so. I think the high turnover is not because we excluded ourselves during the primaries. I think the turnover was basically Nigerians wanted change. Nigerians wanted change. Remember how many governors lost elections? To come to the National Assembly, they lost elections. So it's not about because we have not included ourselves in the primaries. No, it's not. There are many. I was unopposed. My primaries was unopposed, and so many others. I have so many members that were primaries were not opposed, but they lost election. They lost.
So basically, this says that Nigerians, some are tired of your party. Why do you think that is so?
I don't think Nigerians are tired of our party. We couldn't have won the 2023 elections.
At different levels.
Well, so also the other parties. Look at the loss suffered by the PDP. PDP ruled for 16 good years. The PDP literally is missing. It's missing.
PDP does have good numbers in National Assembly.
They have good numbers in National Assembly, yes. They have good numbers. There's no doubt about it. They have 100 and something members. But then nationally, considering a party that has ruled this country for 16 years, remember, I was a member of that party. So I knew the strength of the party. And then seeing the party now with half-baked, with not defined leadership.
Honorable Soli, just before we go, the ministerial list should be out before the long vacation of the National Assembly. And there are those who believe that the president should attach portfolios to those names. But there are also concerns as to the quality of persons that should make that list. There are those who look at governors and say that there are some governors that did not perform well and are already rumored to be in that list. How do you react to something like that, considering the state of the country and the need to get it right at this time? And of course, the high expectation of the president, considering his track record as he put out there during the build-up to the election.
One or two things. One, I'm confident in the president will do the right thing. Two, knowing him as a person, a recruiter of leadership. From his young age, is someone who believes in recruitment of leadership. He will do the right thing. The third thing, because he's a human being, we must be fair to him. Because humans are fallible. He may make one mistake or here and there, and then governance is part of that. But I believe in the overall, he will bring people of quality that will help him to drive this country to the promised land.
Would it make your job easier if he attached portfolios to the names?
You see, there is this, our democracy looks at that as simple as it is. We copy it from other jurisdictions, but those jurisdictions, they have matured enough. They have tested that procedure and they see it reasonably acceptable. Here you are bringing somebody who is exposed in the oil industry and you want to give him aviation. How would you cope up?
So that's why it's important to attach those portfolios, right?
So yes, to some extent it is important. To some extent it has its own disadvantage to the appointing person.
Very well. Then, Honorable Soli, I'd like to thank you for your time. We're out of time. It's surprising that it's almost an hour already. Thank you very much. So it was a pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you, Terry.
Thank you for allowing me to drag you out of plenary to come and have this interview as well.
No, it's okay. It's part of public service.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I've been speaking with Honorable Sada Soli. He's a member of the House of Representatives. He represents Jibia Keita Federal Constituency. Thank you for your time. Catch this episode and others on YouTube or channelstv.com. I'm Terry Ikumi. Goodbye.